Yes, welcome to another interesting episode of the program Sports Preview and Brewer Community Voice. We urge you to make sure that you click on the subscription button, make sure that you share so you can get this video and a lot more of entertaining videos on sport related issues. My name is Oji of W, and on the program today, we're looking at the German squad. Like a lot of us call them the street, the German machines. In fact, Coach Julian Nagelsmann has included 40-year-old and his 26-man group for the tournament in Canada, Mexico, and the United States. In fact, it's a point to note that veteran goalkeeper Manuel Neuer has been named in the German 26-man squad for the FIFA World Cup. A lot of people are saying, Oliver Kahn said, leave when the ovation is high, don't go there. But I feel like he's going to be manning the post. We saw him for Bayern Munich, and they just concluded the UEFA Champions League, and he was a mighty rock and a force to reckon with. The Bayern great and 2014 World Cup winner had originally caught time on his international career after the UEFA Euro 2024, but has reversed decision and will travel to North America as a first choice goalkeeper for what will be his 5th World Cup appearance. Amazing. So talk about the selection for Nagelsmann and the entire German team selection. I have with me Chiwando, amazing. In fact, we must always recognize the decline in this German squad over the years. They even went unbeaten at the point. In fact, I feel like they are supposed to have won more trophies than they've done. They've gotten to many finals. They've been pushy about everything. In fact, we've seen a selection with Neuer coming back to add experience. You know how experience is important in selection. So let's look at either Nagelsmann's selection before we go to talk about Manuel Neuer being selected as first choice goalkeeper by Nagelsmann here. We have goalkeepers Oliver Baumann, Manuel Neuer, Alexander Nubel, and I think Neuer is the preferred option there. What do you have to say about Neuer coming out of retirement?
I kind of feel like I'm sad for Stegen because I feel like this was his opportunity for him, but because of the issue he had with Barcelona, it wasn't consistent, and that affected him. But I kind of feel like Manana is still in form. I mean, he should have left.
Gets better with
As we saw before, he even when he was in his 40s, he was still doing well. So I think Manuel, you cannot just look away from him. He had a very good season with Bayern Munich. So I think he should be going to the World Cup.
And he says we are very, very vital for Bayern to get to the
he says we are just so good. But at the same time, he also makes terrible mistakes. Anyway, I think no goalkeeper is
and you must also consider the caliber of defense before you actually pay. Talk about
did they really have strong defense?
That's what I'm saying.
Apart from Tar,
I'm saying for Bayern. I'm saying for Bayern that defense shakiness could be a reason why things did not actually work for Neuer in that team. So talking about defense, let's look at it. Is Voldemar Anton, Nathaniel Brown, Joshua Kimmich, David Ram, Antonio Rudiger, Nikos Klotterberg, Jonathan Tah, and Malik Tau. I think Jonathan Tah, Malik Tau, Kimmich, Rudiger, good names to them in that defense.
Jonathan Tah, fantastic. Yes, he's a good defender, but he's not a coordinated defender. I don't know. I like that he's very physical. I think him and Rudiger, they play the same thing. They are both physical. But the difference is that Jonathan Tah is a bit more clinical because he doesn't really he doesn't really make that silly tackles like Rudiger can do. He's not a silly defender, he's a disciplined defender. He hardly gets scared unnecessarily. So I kind of feel, but the both of them are playing the same thing. So defensively, they are not nowhere to be found.
Well, I'm trying to say that don't you think physicality is a top ingredient in the German team? They are a very physical side.
Of course, but we know that going into football, if you are just depending on the physical side, the technical and the tactical side, it will affect you because if you are looking at the physical side, African team would have won the World Cup because there is no team in Europe that is more physical than an African team.
Okay, maybe we
Definitely.
talk about all of that and physicality. So let's go to the midfield where creativity counts and not. Nadia Mamiri is there, Leon Goretzka, Pascal Grosch, Leonard Cow, and they have Lemmy Lewelly, and they get Yamam Musala, Felix Mecha, Alexander Pavlovich, Laura Isani, Angelo Stella, and Floyd Wirtz, who won the German player 2 seasons ago before making that move to Liverpool. Let's talk about this midfielder. I think it's what?
I think Flemvet for me.
Goretzka, Mecha, Sane,
Mechagini.
Wirtz, Stella, Musala.
Meta will be coming from the bench. I think for me, I really felt like this guy would have made the decision to play for Nigeria than to play for the German side because I think this could be his last World Cup. But that's not. I'm not a prophet of doom. So I mean, that's what we said about Musiala, and he's still Musiala is still in the German squad team now. So I'm not a prophet of doom, but I kind of feel like Flanvert. So far, if you're watching the friendly matches that they have been playing, you could see that Andy Slot have a case to answer with this man because you could see that this man is really, really good in terms of being creative and also in terms of scoring goals. He is just good. And I mean, you drag the Shakimis from the defense and bring him into the defensive midfield position. I mean, and you look at Goretzka is also a very, very creative midfielder. I think the midfield for the German team is actually balanced. I think they have a very good balanced midfield working for them.
So let's look at the forward. Maximilian Brian, Kai Havertz, Dennis Undaf, and Nick Votmade in that attack. I feel like the attack is a bit scanty. And
There's a problem there.
it is because Kai Havertz does not look like a player that can give you 90 minutes of strong performance. We know that Nick Votmade will have to come and they will rely heavily on physical presence in that attack.
I think Havertz will be the starter for them. Because I'm not seeing any name that.
But I think in this forward, they actually drafted some of their wingers in the midfield position. Sane, Wirtz are players who could actually
play from the wings.
Those wings. So this forward is more like their number 9, sort of. So because if you look at Yamal Musiala, Sane, Floyd Wirtz, they can all do it from the wing. They are more attacking midfielders than. I think I could even list them out as forwards, especially
you can even play from the
yeah. So someone like Musala and Sane, I'm listing them in my forwards. But I think the German team are trying to do it the German way. Let's look at the notable omissions as we round up for the German team because I don't think there's much. Let me remind you that Jonas Ubik, Neuer's deputy at Bayern, will travel with the group as a fourth backup goalkeeper should they be required due to illness and injuries. Among the best known names that are not included are Karim Adeyemi, there is Robert Andrich and Nicholas Foucault. And I feel like it's Foucault that should be looked at saying, why is he not in the list?
Foucault, he didn't really had a very fantastic season anyway for me. But I kind of feel like Adeyemi should have been drafted into. He had a very good season with Dortmund. I think he should have been drafted into that list. But
I think you should also consider players who play in that position. You can have, for example, before the cameras came on, we were talking about the absent situation of the likes of Osimhen and Lukman for the Super Eagles. Are the players playing now bad players? No. But the thing is that when the chips are down,
you can rely
when the push comes to shove, you think about what players have been able to do, in the biggest moment of football. Terry Murphy is a good player, no doubt, and Nacho and what have you. So I think in selection, you must think about your best because you're narrowed down to just 26 players. I'm talking about your best in the sense of how you want to play, your best in your options. Let's say there is a wave of sickness in the team. What are other options? Depending on how the coach plans to set up the team. And I think that's where selections come for this person ahead of this person. With the pattern of football now, Neuer comes top, and I feel like that's why there is a talk about him coming out of retirement to help this German team, especially Ter Stegen, because you look at what you want to play, how you want to play, and think about those moments where games go into extra time and possible penalties and experiences. It's different at that level. So I feel like that's the reason for selection. So entirely, what would you say about the German team selection?
I think they have they don't have so much quality in the German team, but I've looked at the World Cup most times, and it's not always the best team that eventually goes out to win.
Or should you say the best team with the best star,
Star
team with the
players,
star players?
because if you look at last 2022 World Cup, I don't think Argentina came with the best players. I mean, we were beginning to see the new revolution of Enzo Fernandez. It was at the World Cup, we were like, oh, yeah, he plays for Benfica. Oh, he's a good player. Nobody knew. Nobody, there were a lot of revolution in that Argentine team. So I kind of feel like the World Cup too. It doesn't. I think most of the teams that win, except for the Brazilian team, who have won the World Cup with big names. Yes, that's the only team. If okay,
Even in some,
the Spanish
even in
team,
some years, like in
Spanish team.
2002, the Brazil team were not tagged the best because Ronaldo de Lima had to come to that World Cup with an injury. So we've seen cases where not like the teams that were appointed end up winning. But we all know the pedigree and minds of some of these teams and their displays as
so I think, but you cannot take it. I think Germany will get to the semi-finals. You cannot take it away from them. They are the Germans. They know how to German World Cup. They know how to German the World Cup. So you cannot underrate them and say, oh, they don't have the best names. They don't. No. I think they understand, and most of the players that were selected are players who plays in the German Bundesliga, so they are used to themselves. They understand themselves. Most of them are Bayern Munich players, so that chemistry, that synergy is already with them, and that's why I love the Spanish selection and the German selection, because these players play among themselves. The synergy is there, so it gives them that togetherness. It gives them these players understand themselves more, and so going into the World Cup, it will be easier to give those passes. Once you see Kimmich moving, you understand what he wants to do. I think it will help them in this World Cup. I see them going to the semi-finals.
Okay, maybe, but I feel like they have a lot of players who are aged in key position. We are one of them, Rudiger, and what have you, and I feel like those could come hunting. But of course, a couple of young players in that squad who can do their bit to see what happens.
I want to see a German and Spanish in the semi-final play themselves. It's going to be a very
entertaining game. I think any of those top world countries in any fixture is going to come up entertaining. But we all know that the German side, they have to face Curaçao. They play Ivory Coast, and of course Ecuador. So the group stage is not looking like a place that should bother them.
Even the quarterfinal will not be bothered.
So we'll see what they can do in this World Cup all the same. Since there's much we can take, we must also thank our crew at Tabua Committee for saying thank you to Olisa, who has behind the camera. Thank you very much, Chiwendo, for being a part of this one. Thank you so much for it. And do join us on the next episode as we unravel all of those happening in the World Cup. Don't forget to visit www.manspread.ng to see stuff for yourself as we are urging you to look into it with amazing offers there for you at the World Cup. Adios.